Be my backup in case I can't get these boxes to work if I'm in class. So I'm going to go to, we're going to scroll down here. Now, just starting out, you can see where I've got that this is a pain because you need two different headings. You have play in Word or I'm sorry, and what I mean by play in Word is just have to kind of figure out. There's a way to do it as far as the pagination of it or whatever, but again, sometimes I just do just make kind of a separate page. So I'll have my title page here, and then when I get to page two, where my paper begins, that's where you can just start with you'll start your numbers at two, so you'll almost have two different documents. In this, you're just going to keep it real simple. You can see here on the author's note, you don't need to do this. All you need is this right here. You just need you'll just need the name of your paper, your name, and Francis Marion University. And then, of course, you'll have the running head. Notice it's lowercase, and then it's all caps here. Also, too, all these boxes, are here, are all pretty important. So, again, you can kind of see where not exceeding 50 characters. Again, something here, it's you're going to use, and you're going to send me your papers electronically. So what's going to happen is you're going to see that I want to have an inch all the way around. So no bringing it in too far or anything like that. And then we're going to use time. And you have to use Times New Roman, even though it may not be the easiest to read compared to some of the newer fonts, but that's the way it is. So we're just going through here again. You won't need any of this down here. And then you also don't need to use an abstract. Again, an abstract is generally going to be for a dissertation, so you're going to be fine there. Notice that actually that abstract isn't capitalized, as well as you'll see reference. And then here on the notes, you will not need to use an abstract. Something here, just in this paper, you can see where they use computer mediated communication, the CMC. And then so that's just when you have a longer word you want to abbreviate, and you'll use that for the rest of the paper. And then there's different ways to cite. Again, they have a lot of different ones here. I mean, they're here for a reason. They're here to show you. But you can see here they use Butler and. Notice it's and not the sign for it. Shift 7 on your computer. So looking down through this, again, you can see where they use face to face. So FTF is now, they'll use that for the rest of the paper. And again, once you use that, you can't go back to it. You got to use it and keep it. You can't. And then also too, I don't want to see a long word like this used over and over to where you get how many ever pages we're going to make the paper. So then again, here's another thing where you're looking at, they're using and here, but then when they use it at the end, it's got the it'll have the that shift 7, the and sign. So you can see it's right there again. So then I've got notes here. So again, this is where you're going to start with page 2. Well, again, it says 3 here, but again, you want to make sure you start with 2 there. Then also 2, this will be, and you also don't need to have the title. You can just start with the paper right here. I guess that's after you do an abstract. And then on this one, I'm got here. You see how this is what you call left justified, had all lines up over here, and then you've got right justified. That's where everything ends up on the right side here. And then a lot of times it'll be centered justified, where it's like almost like a newspaper, where they're both everything comes to the side, so the spacing's off. So you want to make sure you use left justification on your papers. Then it looks like there's 2 spaces after the period. I've heard something about going to 1, but I've always used 2 spaces, and it looks like there's 2 spaces here. Again, just another example of the abbreviations. And then this is now another thing is like this et al. So it's kind of like right here when you have, so this has 3 authors, right? So it lists all of them. If it has 4 authors, you would do it. But if it has 6, now sometimes you can have the whole line is nothing but a bunch of authors, which I didn't say that APA's perfect, but that is maybe one of the problems there. But anyway, you'll just see that once, and after that you'll use the et al. You notice the periods after the AL here. So then scrolling down here again, now you have to have these headings. Goes back to schema, how we talked about how it helps the reader know what to expect. Therefore, it's going to be easier to read. Therefore, it's going to help grades on your paper. So make sure you're going to have like up here, you might have introduction. Then right here, you might have support. Then you'll have conclusion. Just a couple of them. Nothing too. I don't want to see too many of them. Anytime you change major thoughts, that would be another reason too. So moving along here. Now here's the et al. See how they used it here, and then notice the period, comma, year, parentheses. So in parentheses, there's nothing here. Okay. And then just kind of go on the next page, you see again this is on all caps right here, and then you got your page number. So you need to be careful your titles, or your title. You just need to figure out a way to shorten it as far as the title of your paper. Now this is the one that generally you'll want to use. Now this uses the et al, but of course it could have had the names at the end there too. Here's an example where you've got 5 names here. Again, like I said, if it were 6, it could have been written like this. And then notice there's not a comma here. It just goes straight to it. Because you see here, you see how they've got the comma right there, but it's not right there. Well, now this is at the end of the end of it. Now again, we need to make sure what it's like. Yeah, here it is. So in the beginning here of the paragraph, you can see where it's got where it has the period and no comma. At the end, it has a comma, and it has a comma. Okay. Now, so you're using this reference, right? You use this reference, and say you've got kind of a long, lengthy paragraph. When you start the new thought, say you're going to use your, generally I think the easiest is just to put it at the end, like this one is right here. Pretty much, you can kind of keep it going with the same reference. So this sentence, this first sentence will have, say, the it's cited like it is right here. It's cited in this manner here instead of using it at the end. And then you can have a couple more sentences in here that talks about how several sentences, and then once it changes to another person, because you can see that's kind of what they did. So it's like they had the Cummings 2000, then they came into this, and then all of a sudden so this sentence is related back to this one. So you can kind of see is why they did that. And then right here, you've got some, this is, so here's kind of a sentence. I actually got a note here. Notice there is not a citation as the author is discussing the paper. So right here you see there's no citations. And again, make sure you're citing your own work and not somebody else's when you're talking there. And again, you've got to switch up the words too, as far as you can't copy it word for word. There's some things that we'll talk about in class today as far as switching the sentences around. A lot of the papers you'll use have really long sentences, so sometimes you can break those into 2 sentences. Sometimes you can take 3 sentences and turn them into 2 sentences, that type thing. And then also too, you want to also make the just as far as readability, it's good to have short sentences, long sentences, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. Now notice how this is at the end, right? And then we've got the and sign here. So so this is at the end, you use the sign here, and then when it's in the middle of it, you'll use and. So notice there's no comma right here. And then also here we've got yep, so you can see this just says what I've already pointed out as far as you have to use and. So they used and there, and then right in there they used, because it's at the end of the sentence, they used a sign. Again, they used the sign there. And again, notice how they used a comma here too. See the comma? Make sure that, see there's no comma here, but there's a comma there. And there's going to be a comma when they use the et al. Too at the end. So it's period and then the year. Now here's one where they used, again, I'm saying this is also acceptable, but again, I would just keep the citations at the end, keep it consistent. Notice here I've got the discussion, I've got this kind of in, well, red, pink, whatever, as far as to make sure you see it. But again, they're going to be required for your paper. I want a minimum of introduction and conclusion, and then a couple other things to be nice. Now here's so something to be careful about. So notice where this is located, okay? And now this is they're both bolded. Now again, references and now where it says references, that's not going to be in bold. But like say you're using like different studies or you're going over a certain subject and all of a sudden you change gears, you can put that over here. This is going to be, I guess, is what they mean by level 2, a level 2 heading. And then the paper isn't really long enough to have level 3 headings, so you don't really need to worry about that. And then that's what I got these boxes for. And also too, I'll give you a couple extra points if you use these correctly. Now if you use it every other sentence, it's going to actually lose points, so be careful on that. But again, having it used correctly, it'll be good. And again, it's just maybe one a page, or something like that, 2 a page tops. So looking through here, you can see there's no comma here. And then, going through here, don't really need to worry about using appendices. So there's another, so this one, so you can see where this is indented. So this right here is, I guess they're calling it a third level 3 heading right there. Like I said, you just don't see, and I know they're just trying to show you different examples, but you generally don't see this. A lot of times they'll put the stuff at the end, unless you're really comparing studies. Again, just going through here. See, you've got the period and the comma there. And then moving down, conclusions and future studies. So this was in bold right here, okay? And you got your conclusion. And then again, references is not in bold. See, it's just a space, and then so he gets, oh gosh, you got a lot of stuff going on here. So make sure when you're cutting, again, I'll show you how to cut and paste in class. But notice how it's double spaced. This is tabbed in, and you'll also go to style on your I'll show you in class on Microsoft Word. You want to clear all. I think I've got the note right here. So notice references are not that references. I should have a. I guess I can change that to make that. So notice this is not references. Is not in bold, but it's centered. Okay, so I'd say you want to copy and paste or use cited articles to get your the correct APA format. Also, too, when what you want to do is go ahead and just you'll have just a hodgepodge of stuff as you do it, and also too, this needs to be alphabetical too, as well. So you'll just so then what you'll do is once you get all this, then you'll highlight it, and then you might want to go to the spacing first. Well, I guess maybe the first thing just clear all the format, and then you'll want to make sure you have the spacing correct. But so it's styles, then clear all, and then it's clear formatting on a Mac. And then I believe you're done. So again, and then also too, I've got the APA thing was on there also. Now what you can do, I'll show you how to use Purdue OWL also, but you can go to Purdue OWL, and if you have a journal or a book, looks like this is a journal. I don't even know if they really used a book, but there's different things you can use for your articles. But generally, I want you to use peer-reviewed journals is what we're looking for your articles. And what those are is the stuff you're going to find in the library, or the stuff that's going to be on Google Scholar. You'll be safe, and the stuff you'll get from EBSCO, I think, is the one you'll use from the library. So I hope this helps, and good luck on your paper.